Hello and welcome to Thomye Surfs. I'm Thomye and this is a review of the Froth 7.0 by Boardworks. And it's a foamy. So in case you're wondering why I'm reviewing a foamy, I actually started this channel reviewing foamies. I think I did a set of fins that I found on Amazon first, and then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna try to fill a gap that I see on the internet, which was nobody was reviewing foamies. And so I started down that path. But then my brother made an observation that it literally got no views. And I think I did one of the boards that I've already owned, and that one got way more views, so I decided to kind of steer away from it. But it is a board I already own, therefore it made sense to do it. And I actually committed to doing a review, and someone just reminded me. So for that, thank you. And I'm just gonna finish off this review. So this is the Froth 7.0. 7.0, it is 22 inches wide, 3 1/8 thick, I believe, and it comes in at about 56, 57 liters. The literage is, I think your mileage varies on literage, and the reason why I say that is because I had the other froths and they floated way better than their liters indicated. I think the 56, 57 might be kind of an understatement. At any rate, the one thing about this board that I liked, it is a hard epoxy board with an EVA coating. The soft skin that wraps around it is the foamy, but underneath it is actually a rigid, hard board. Unlike the Wavestorm, where the rigidity comes from two, I believe, stringers, pretty much the whole bulk of that board is styrofoam. This one is probably an EPS foam board with an epoxy shell, and then on top of that is the foamy part. The bottom is similar to the Wavestorm. It's hard, it's kind of like that hard plastic, but all of it is covered with this soft foam, so it's very safe. An added safety feature is it has these little black tips, tail and nose, that are a little bit softer than the actual outer skin, so it's very safe. And at the time, I think she weighed 85 pounds and she was learning to surf. And we went out maybe 2 or 3 times on the Wavestorm, and she had a very difficult time on the Wavestorm. It was just hard for her to manage. It was too wide, she could hardly paddle, she could hardly spin the board, and then whenever she got up, it was very difficult for her to even control. I know that I'm a good surfer, I'm a decent surfer, and I have a hard time with the Wavestorm. So then thinking about my daughter, who's a beginner, weighs 85 pounds, it just occurred to me that that probably wasn't, you know, it's a great summer board, great learning board for bigger people, but for her, maybe something a little scaled down. So if they actually had a smaller Wavestorm, that might have worked too. But because they don't, I opted for the 7.0 Froth, which is a foot smaller, about 20 some odd liters less, maybe even 30 liters less. But again, I said this one, I don't think it's accurate, so it's not that different. I noticed that right away, from day one when she started surfing it, her performance like literally doubled. She could actually steer the board in terms of like paddling, turning it around, she could get up. And then I saw her trying to pump the board, which was pretty awesome to see, especially it being like her 4th time out. So the Froth made total sense. So now for the purpose of this review, I'm gonna be surfing the board. So a couple things about the Froth that you need to know. All right, the first one is this EVA skin, it's very slick. It's not like the Wavestorm. I feel like the Wavestorm has a little bit more traction. Right now this feels like it does because we have so much wax on it. But you just take a base coat or a tropical and just do a real light coat to take the slick off. I recommend that you use wax. It says you don't need it, but you absolutely do need it. I've slipped off this board. They add this little traction area, but it's worthless. It's still slippery, so you gotta wax it, all right? Another thing you need to know about this board is regarding the fins. So if you notice, the EVA skin, I don't know if you can see it, it's about I want to say almost a 1/4 inch thick, okay? So this Futures fin box that's actually attached to the EPS inner board sits a 1/4 inch deeper than the outer skin. So what ends up happening is if you're going to run medium fins, when it's set inside, it's more like a small fin, okay? Because now you're actually looking at it from the surface of the skin to here, and you've lost a 1/4 inch in depth, okay? So this is more like a small fin. So if you want bigger fins, you should buy larger fins. If you're a advanced surfer or intermediate and you just want better performance, switch out the fins because these are pretty soft anyways. Good for the kids and learning. At the end of the day, you want probably a better hold. Now, one good thing about this board is, unlike the Wavestorm, which just uses these plastic plugs that go through the styrofoam, the fins, if you get stiff fins, they're pretty rigid because they're going to be attached to an epoxy board underneath. So it's going to really behave like a regular surfboard. Only difference being it's a lot thicker, a lot heavier, you know. But for the most part, it's a fantastic learning board. This particular size is probably good for even an intermediate big guy, right, that just needs the leaderage. You know, I've seen guys rip on Wavestorm, so I think this would take it just to the next level. It's a decent board. And hopefully based on the footage you will see me surfing, that you'll kind of come to the same conclusion that it is and performs much better than a Wavestorm.
So now before we look at my waves, I just want to show a couple more of my daughter surfing. And so this is probably like her 10th time out, you know, 5-6 times on the Wavestorm, 4th or 5th time here on this particular Froth, and then she right away scaled down to a 5-6. On certain waves she does need help getting pushed in, so I do that for her, but she does know how to do it. If the wave times right and it kind of is in her window of catchability, she can do it herself. But there are times when I just want to make sure, so I do help her. But yeah, it's really cute watching her because, you know, she just got the bug last summer, before COVID, and then unfortunately all throughout COVID we didn't really get to go, the lockdown and all, and then she was busy with starting high school. So she's a tiny girl. I think at this point she was only 5 feet tall, maybe 85 pounds. So now we're going to look at some of my waves. And this is actually a pretty decent day, but I forced myself. I only brought the foamy as well as the sea axe. So I didn't really have a board that I could surf. But if you notice, I come off the bottom pretty well on this board. So because of the rigid fin box and fins, or I shouldn't say fins, the fins are actually pretty soft, but because of the rigid fin box, the board is relatively responsive. And I had a lot of really good waves. But you'll see me kind of turn and do little floaters. So it feels like a mid-length to me. Glides a little better and is more forgiving because of the thicker rails. I think a true mid-length is going to have more pinched rails, so it'll be a little bit more difficult. So I put this portion in because I wanted to show you kind of the challenge. Because it is a almost 60-liter board, I had a very difficult time getting out, and every little wave was pushing me back. And I had the same problem with a Wavestorm if I had any board of this size. I couldn't duck dive it. I did try a few times. Unlike my Seaside and Beyond, which is only 40 liters, I believe, or 42 liters, or I forget. I can actually put the nose down on that, and I could have gotten out a lot easier on a day like this. But this board made it really challenging. Every time white water hit me, I think it just pushed me back halfway. It also didn't help that it was, I believe, like a 6-second period swell. So wave after wave, very little time to kind of recover and make any ground. So anything I lost, I'd pretty much paddle out, and then I'd lose it, paddle out, lose it. So until there was a break in that particular swell, yeah, it was very challenging. So now this wave, I was trying to pump the board, and everything takes longer, right? Longer strokes. I think that's probably the best way to put it. Yeah, super fun, super cruisy. Easy to lose balance when you're trying to do a floater. The board just doesn't react as sharply, so you just have to, if you account for that delay, I think it makes it easier, and it just takes a little bit of getting used to. But again, I had a lot of fun on this board, and I was actually happy that I surfed it because it taught me something that I didn't really think about, and I think this will prep me for the mid-length, the CI mid-length, as well as make me a better surfer on my Beyond. But I never really thought about adjusting my feet left to right. Now, I've always adjusted my feet front to back. You know, you move it forward, backwards, depending on whether you're driving down the line, you're about to do a turn, you know, you move your foot back, right? But I never thought about moving it left rail to right rail. And on a wider, bigger kind of mid-length board like this, you're forced to do that because it's really hard to get on your tippy toes and drive that rail and set it. So what you do is you scoot your back foot to the inner rail that you're going to turn on, or the outside rail. So if you're going backside, you move your heel back to the rail. If you are going front side, you move your toes to the rail, and it makes it a lot easier to turn. So having surfed this board, I kind of figured that out, and I think it'll make me a little bit better on the mid-length, the CI mid-length, which will make it for a better review, hopefully. Having this board, it was really cool because you sit taller on your board, so you see more things coming at a much earlier point, and you can position yourself so much easier. So yeah, I think I caught way more waves, and I was better positioned. So if you notice, my rides are way longer than they normally would be. Once again, thanks for watching. I probably won't be reviewing too many more foamies, but I just wanted to finish this one off. And this particular day I did switch off with my brother on the SeaX, so that review will be coming very shortly. Please like, subscribe, comment. Thanks.